Alright. Knew I should have said 5:45 instead of 5:30. Like, I thought I could make 5:30 if I hurried. I was wrong. Alright. Looks like we're ready to go on this end. Okay. Let's get started. Three, two, one, fight! At some point today, I'm probably gonna have to go on a rant about Sony, but who knows, maybe I'll actually try and make a YouTube video for once. Oops, let's do that again. How goes it? Well, I guess on a personal level, it's no problem, but well, assuming Sony doesn't come to their senses between now and probably the next month, because if they don't reverse decision on this in the next month, like, it's probably not getting reversed at all. Like, I'm not buying a PlayStation 6. Like, I'm just not going to buy one. I don't know who's giving Sony advice. I don't know who is making these kinds of decisions, or advising them, or involved in them. But they all need to be fired because they don't understand their industry anymore. And if this isn't clear just from this decision alone, just like everything that has gone on for the last 5 years at Sony, and as honestly, for greater context, everything that's gone on since they moved their corporation to California, would indicate that they have no idea what the fuck they're doing. Like, my understanding when they moved their offices for PlayStation to California was, despite what they may have said, I think the largest reason that they did it was they thought that the best tech talent was located in California. And in terms of designing their machine, especially after how bad they kind of got beat up over the PS3 with parts costs and people complaining about the difficulty to design for it and everything else. Like, I think they felt that by moving to California, they could basically make it easier to develop PlayStations. And I think they more or less did succeed on that. Like, Mark Cerny, I think, has overall done a good job of designing the PlayStations. I don't really agree with everything he's done. Mainly him trying to turn the PlayStation into another PC. I think that was a mistake. And I think Nintendo's success with the Switch is proof of that. Like, the console market was never the PC market, and Americans don't get that. Kind of like Americans don't get soccer, Americans don't get things like this sometimes. Like, Americans have their view on stuff, and it tends to be very myopic in that they see the way that they think things should be as the only way they can possibly be. And anything other than that is just stupid. And like, this is a viewpoint you can get away with when you're basically on top. Like, why does that kind of viewpoint exist in the U.S.? It's because, well, quite frankly, America's on top of everything. You know, not everything, but more or less everything. Everything important, anyway. So, like, that kind of idea permeates a lot of the US, and it's why you saw something stupid like them deciding to switch the confirm button from circle to X even in Japan. Because for Americans, well, it's always been X for us, so why shouldn't it be that way for everyone else? Whereas the obvious choice was just to make it an option in the menu, and like they did that eventually, but the fact that that had to come afterwards is, again, it's kind of an example of this. But, you know, right now, like, digital sales are higher than physical sales. That's fine. You know, like, I'm not surprised by it. I'm disappointed by that, but I'm regularly disappointed by a lot of things that people do. I'm not really surprised about it. But let's just be clear here. Like, Sony deciding to do this, like, obviously, the costs involved with developing physical media and the amount of demand that there is for it at the moment and things like that did play into it. But this has got almost nothing to do with that. This has everything to do with their ability to basically control the market for their games and drive the price to wherever they want it to be. Like, nothing about this makes sense even outside of that view, which is lines gotta go up. This doesn't make any sense. And what's even dumber about that is this is probably going to make the line go down. Now, people will talk to you about, you know, physical sales make up this percentage of sales and things like that. And, well, one, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know how much I trust any of the numbers that are released, but the industry's been pushing to go to all digital for a while now. And if there's something people should have learned by now, is that people will lie about stuff like this when it's to their advantage. The government does it, corporations do it, and you can say all this kind of stuff about, oh, you get in trouble if you lie on your reports, and it's like, well, prove it. That's the thing, like, they don't really have a way to prove this one way or the other. And the thing is, like, honestly, I doubt that the physical numbers are, even if they are being fudged, I doubt they're that far off from where people think they are. But I think that what people don't understand is, like, how much of game buying goes on through, like, used sales and things like that. How much of gameplay goes on through that isn't accounted for in their statistics. And I think it's a larger percentage than they think. And I also think that people that buy physical media are probably, on average, far larger consumers of their media than people who buy digital media. Because physical consumers probably also buy digital media at the same time. Like, I'm one of those people. Like, I don't buy digital media when I can avoid it. I'll buy digital media when I don't have a choice. And I don't like it every time I do it. Like, I bought, Mina the Hollower and another Crab's Treasure. Those are the only two, well, other than Eugenics, which is on Steam. That's a little bit of a different situation there. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, I'm perfectly happy to switch over to the PC for gaming exclusively. Even if I can't necessarily own the games, because with a PC, even if I can't own the games, I can find the way to quote-unquote own the games. It's a different story with the PlayStation. Like, it's a lot more involved process to get around whatever kind of garbage they're going to pull to basically remove access to certain media whenever they decide that it's in their best interest. So in that sense, like, yeah, like, I'm perfectly happy to switch over to PC for gaming if that's what Sony's going to do, because if their machine is just going to be a download machine, I'm sorry, why would I buy your machine over a PC at that point? What, your exclusives? You mean the ones that you barely had this generation that are all mostly garbage and stuff I don't want to play? Like, the only exclusives that Sony had that I used to play were made by the studios that they all shut down. so they could make a bunch of games that me and no one else wanted to play. And which apparently they're going to try to double down on, because they would say they still want to make live service games that they don't know how to make. I mean, seriously, I don't know who is actually in charge of Sony at this point, but they need to go to the offices in California and basically fire everyone. Because those people are idiots. They are retarded. They don't know what they're doing, and they are going to drive the business into the grave. That's where Sony is headed with this decision. Like, PlayStation is going to be dead after the PlayStation 6 if they don't figure something out real soon. And if they don't think that's true, just look at what's happening to Microsoft right now, because they're going to put themselves in the exact same situation, except they're not going to have Microsoft's resources to back it up. Microsoft doesn't need Xbox. Microsoft could get rid of Xbox tomorrow and they'd be better off for it. If Sony doesn't have PlayStation, Sony as a company is more or less done. And they have thrown away billions of dollars on retard vanity projects for the last 5 years. And I don't know why. It looks like the Japanese branch finally kind of caught wind of this, and they've started to crack down on it, which is why I think you're starting to see, well, I don't know if you saw the rumors yesterday or not, but it looks like Drucken's about to get pushed out at Naughty Dog. Because, well, let's be real. Everything that's gone on there since he went in charge has been an absolute shit show. Every single one of Sony's development studios that's in California or in a non-Japanese country at this point is basically a disaster. They started hiring people for reasons that had nothing to do with game development, and now look at it. They don't know how to make games anymore. What a fucking shock. It's just like I was talking about with Square Enix the other day. Square Enix hired a bunch of mobile developers because that's where they thought all the money was. Now they need to pivot away from that because they realize they're not very good at it and the money's not there that they thought there was. And now they're stuck with a bunch of people that don't know how to do anything but make mobile games. What a shock. But either way, I think this is going to kill sales for the PlayStation a lot more than they think. I think that the idea of physical being an option available is much more a safety blanket than Sony realizes or any of the other people realize. I think all of the PC idiots who are celebrating this because, oh yeah, digital is the future. Oh yeah, well this just means that it's more likely that everything's going to be coming to the PC. Gaming was better when consoles and PC were a separate market. Because there was actually something to compete for at this point. You want to know why gaming's gotten kind of stagnant recently? It's because these people aren't competing anymore. They don't feel like they have to. They feel like they just throw it on the market and then that's all they have to do with it. Like there's no sense that there's no push to actually make your product stand out anymore. Back with exclusives, you had to make your product stand out on the system it was on, but you had to also make it stand out versus other systems as well. And that made a difference. Think of how much Sony accomplished with the PS3 with considerably worse power available to it versus the PCs at the time. With things like Uncharted and The Last of Us. Like, you don't see people doing that anymore. And the reason why is because there's no drive to. The only people, ironically, the only people you see doing that anymore is Sony. Because they have to. Another thing, too, is like, this going away is going to drive up the cost of games a lot. It's going to drive it up on the PC, too. I mean, a lot of people don't realize this. I mean, I didn't even realize it until I bought these games recently. You know what? Shit's actually cheaper on the PS than on Steam. In a lot of cases, stuff is cheaper on the PSN than it is on Steam. That's not going to be the case in the near future. But just look at how much it costs to buy, again, like, pick a random 2-year-old game, see how much it costs to buy it off of Steam, and then see how much it costs for the disc. And the thing is, like, that's not the only place that you end up paying more money. If you're somebody that buys any remotely significant amount of games, you're going to be paying more over time for digital downloads than you are for discs. Why? Because you're going to be paying for storage if you actually want to keep them. Unless you're one of these people that actually doesn't care about keeping your games, and you don't care when they shut down the store like they just did with the PS3 store. Or the PS Vita store. And if you don't care about the fact that your games are going to be gone when they do that, I guess that doesn't apply to you. But if you actually care about keeping your stuff, well, you better look at how much long-term storage costs now. For a hard disk versus a CD. And here's the thing, like, those discs actually last a long time. If you take even remotely decent care of them, they will last decades for those CDs. I don't know if the same thing can be said of, like, these hard discs, like, especially if you're talking like a platter HDD. Like, those won't last that long. And then the solid state drives, like, I mean, those have got a shelf life on them as well. Like, people don't realize like that. Those actually do have a shelf life on them. Yeah, that's the other thing with Steam too, is like, Gabe Newell's an old man and he is extremely fat. That man could die tomorrow. What do you think is going to happen to Valve once Gabe's gone? I will guarantee you, whoever gets control of it, they're going to be chomping at the bit to do an IPO. Why wouldn't they? Think of how much money they can make. That's all that matters to any of these people anymore. Well, fuck making a good product. Holy shit. You'd have to be a retard to do that in today's environment. But either way, like, I think this is really going to kill their sales. Like, I think that they have completely miscalculated. Well, the thing is, like, they know how bad this is because they're hiding on social media. They did the same thing when they shut down Bluepoint, but the thing is, like, people aren't going to shut up about this. Like, this is absolutely going to dog them like the PS6 price or the PS3 price did at launch. And Kutaragi saying, you know, like, if people want to buy a PS3, then they should get a second job. Like, what I'm waiting for and what I am pretty certain is going to happen at some point is one of these retards at Sony is going to say the same thing that Don Maddox said. And that if people want this, then they can buy PS5. Like, it's coming. Somebody's going to say it. Somebody is stupid enough to say it. Because it's idiots running the show at this point at Sony. One of them is going to say it, and it's going to be hilarious. And that's the other thing, too. Like, people have been pushing that, you remember when the PS4 came out, and then Microsoft got in all that trouble about trying, you know, always online and stuff with the Kinect being mandatory and all that other bullshit. And then Sony did the advertisement showing how you could share games just by, you know, handing another person a disc. Sony wasn't in California then. At least not their headquarters. I'm pretty sure of that. I mean, the thing is, like, if anyone is silly enough to make the excuse, well, Xbox is doing it. Yeah, Xbox is a dead platform. If you don't realize Xbox is a dead platform at this point, there's no helping you. You are lost. Xbox is dead. Even if it stays around as a game distributed platform, same thing as with Sony. Why the fuck would I buy anything from Microsoft when Steam exists? Especially looking at Microsoft's track record. You can't trust Microsoft for anything. Microsoft doesn't even know how to release a good product anymore. Why would you trust them with running a good service? They don't even have any good services. I mean, like, the second they announced that they were moving their stuff to California, like, I was worried about what was going to happen to the PlayStation long term. Because I just knew. I mean, I'm not surprised by this. Like, make no mistake, I'm not surprised this happened. I'm just disappointed. Like I said, I've been trying to hold the line on physical now for a decade. Over a decade with this shit. Because I knew where this was going and I knew what the downsides of it were. But too many people just are unable to see long-term consequences for anything. I mean, ask yourself, why the fuck retro gaming is so popular right now? Why is vinyl shit getting popular again? Why are people trying to buy DVDs still? It's because they've kind of realized, you know, like, there's a difference between, like, owning something and owning a license to something. And a very significant difference. It just took them getting screwed to figure it out. I mean, if nothing else, like, what does give me small comfort is the fact that, by and large, I have seen nobody defending this. I mean, you'll see the random jackass out there trying to say, oh, you know, this is inevitable, or I don't buy anything physical anymore. Well, nobody cares if you're a retard. I don't think Sony understands how much of their existence as a platform at this point is simply because of the fact that they still had physical media available. I saw an article as I was kind of going through the stuff on this, like, what was it? Physical sales actually went up recently due to Nintendo and the Switch 2. It's like the first time it's happened in a while. And again, like, I don't think this is a move made from a standpoint of looking at the long term or the health of the platform. I think this is a move made in desperation by a bunch of idiots who have dug themselves a hole and they don't know how to get out of it. And it's, again, driven by line must go up. I mean, if Sony goes ahead and goes through with the PS6 launch as things are right now, like, I think that's probably the end of PlayStation. And if you think it can't end in one generation, just ask Sega how it went. And the thing is, like, Microsoft wanted to end the Xbox after the Xbox One. It's definitely struggling now that they've raised the prices to such exorbitant points. And the thing is, like, I have more sympathy for that because, well, it's obvious why the prices are going up, and there's not really much that they can do about it. Although I will say that they are complicit in it. like the prices of all this stuff going up, like if you think these major corporations aren't discussing this kind of stuff in the background, like you're very naive. And the thing is, like, this is obviously a very recent decision, too, because there's no way they could have kept this under wraps. Somebody would have said something if there had been any hint that they were going to do this before now. This is really recent whenever they decided to do this. And it, like, the GTA 6 stuff, like, is all tied into this as well, too. Like, there's... Like, I'd have to sit there and think about it for a little while and kind of see what some other people have to say about it before I decide what I think is what's actually happening. But, like, GTA 6, like, not having a physical release at launch is probably tied into this. Because, I mean, like, somebody was talking about it today, and they were like, well... it's going to be like a year, like, as Moore's Law is Dead. Like, I watch that a lot. And, like, that guy's generally got level-headed opinions about a lot of this stuff. And he's got pretty good sources in the industry on information and things like that. But he was making a mistake today when he was talking about it, because he was saying, like, it's going to be a year after the PS6 launches when they start doing when they close down physical discs. And no, it's not. It's going to be like probably 2 months, because the PS6 is not going to launch spring. I seriously doubt it. If the PS6 launches, it's going to be closer to the holidays, probably like October or something, which means it's going to be 2 months from the launch of it until that's just a reason for idiots to pair it. Like, that is sort of a reason, but, you know, Asmongold brought this up too. Like, you know what they did with Crimson Desert? They just made it so that when you put the disc into the machine and turned it on, like, it wouldn't play the game until it hit a certain date. And, like, Grand Theft Auto doing this is digital. Like, make no mistake, this is an experiment. And you can talk about, like, them not wanting the stuff to get out early or other stuff like that. Like, no one cares. They're going to be giving copies of this to people to play months ahead anyway. Or not months ahead, but probably a week ahead anyway. They're going to give early access to people. I'd be shocked if they weren't. Actually, I'd be worried if they weren't. If they're not confident enough in this game to give early access to streamers, what that tells me is that they think this game's going to be shit. You know what I almost never hear anybody talk about with Grand Theft Auto, but when they like it? Oh, I really love the story. I'm not saying people don't like the story. I'm just saying, like, that's not why people play the game. But either way, like, I think Sony is... They're going to do the same thing that, like, Star Wars has done, and a lot of these other big properties have done in the last decade or so to ruin themselves, which is they're going to drive off their core audience with this. And once you drive off that core audience, like, here's the thing, like, people that are generally committed enough to be your core audience, they also tend to be kind of vindictive about this kind of shit. In that, if you screw them like this, they remember it. You see this, like, in idol culture in Japan all the time. You want to see, like, the person who's going to be the most vindictive anti you've ever seen? It's probably a former fan. That's why they're hiding on social media right now, because they know this is going to be bad. And the thing is, I don't think they understand how bad it is. Because if they did, they would have never done this. And they're not saving any money by doing this either on like manufacturing for the PS. Look up how much it costs to buy a Blu-ray disc drive. Like I have an external drive for my PC that costs $20. $20. And that's retail. These disc drives cost them shit nothing. And then they want to talk about like the cost of like, you know, the manufacturing pipeline and all that other bullshit. Like you guys put that into the price. Like here's the thing, like the digital price is just high because of manufacturing prices. If anything, it allows you to keep the price higher without people getting pissed at you. You take all that away, like there's going to be a lot more scrutiny on the price of these games. Because you got no excuse anymore. You don't have the retailer cut excuse anymore. You don't have the shipping and manufacturing excuse anymore. All the people are going to see is that price, and it's like, oh, that's what you decided to sell it for? This is too much. Fuck you. And like because I have a functioning memory, there's a lot of people that don't. I remember all the talk about when digital was first a thing and how they were talking about it was going to save so much money, and they never, ever passed on that savings to consumers. Never. Not once. Not ever. If anything, digital has always been more expensive than physical. And people told people back then, this is exactly what was going to happen. Because because it literally costs you nothing to have a digital copy. There's no impetus to lower the price at all. Where's the impetus to lower the price? Like with retailers, you got to lower the price because you got to get that shit out the door. Like you can't just hold, stock forever. You got to get rid of it at some point. So that drives the price down to a point where people want to pay for it. With digital, all you got to do is just like press a button. There's no impetus for that at all. They can just sit there and hold out. And that's what they've done. They don't care. Like I think like a lot of people's misunderstandings of how things like this are going to work is because they allow business people to tell them how things are going to go, when business people have an incentive to be a little bit deceptive about this to not make themselves look as bad as they are. Like you wouldn't let Satan explain to you how good of a person he is, and then take him at his word. It's the same reason, like when there's a dispute, you don't just listen to one side of it that's directly involved. Of course, business people are going to tell you anything they can that they think is going to make it easier for them to make money. And what really pisses me off with Sony is like part of the reason Sony's in such a bad position is because all of the idiotic things they've been doing for the last 5 years. Unforced errors made purely out of ideological and ignorant positions. Like it pains me that gaming is going to have to fall apart to save gaming, but that's where we are at this point. Because gaming did the one thing you never do in a hobby, which is you don't let in corporate interests, and you don't let there's another group you don't let in. I'm gonna try to be a little bit more diplomatic about the other group. Like, the investors are in large part a problem with what's going on with gaming, but it's not just investors. It's the people they've been hiring. People that have no business there. People that don't understand the industry and don't care about it. I'll let you come to conclusions as to who that is. And those people have been making decisions about games and the direction of gaming that have been completely antithetical to everything that it was supposed to be about. To everything that made it popular in the first place. Like, I saw this in another stream that somebody kind of made this in a different, they made this point in a different way. Like, part of the reason you see these kinds of people get so upset when you criticize their games is because the things that you're criticizing in the games are things that they see as a part of themselves. Like, they put these things into the games in a form of self-insert in the thought that everybody would like it. And so when you're criticizing that, you're criticizing them directly. When you call these things ugly, you're calling them ugly. And, like, it's not, like, the thing is, like, it's not like I didn't know that, but, like, that was the first time I'd ever heard someone kind of, you know, just put it out there bluntly like that. And I was like, oh, you know what? That's exactly right. That is why these people get so defensive about this shit. It's because they see these characters as themselves, because these things are self-inserts. And so when people shit all over them, it's them, they feel like it's they themselves getting shit all over. And because the expectation is like they put these things in there and people would like them and it'd be self-validation, is instead turned into the exact opposite. And you know what? The thing is, like, Anita and Quinn are still in the industry. That should tell you all you need to know about where the industry is in the West. Any competent industry would have gotten rid of them. Like, I hate to see the defense of when a person like them shows up somewhere. You know, like, who was it? The guy at Obsidian who was talking about, you know, like, not wanting to hire white artists or, you know, like that kind of stuff. When you see someone like that show up somewhere, and then you hear somebody say, oh, it's only that one guy. Who the fuck are you kidding? Who the fuck do you think they're kidding? It's only one person. Somebody hired that person. And if you think that they're saying this stuff on social media, like, this blatantly, that they're not saying this shit around the office, and then they don't even get fired afterwards? Like, these people existed, these companies, because the culture at the company allows them to exist. Because by and large, the culture of the company agrees with them. You know, like, Asman put up a video about it the other day talking about, like, ideological capture and things like that. Like, that's something that people need to understand better, because it happened at the universities first. And, like, a lot of all of the problems that people see with this kind of stuff, it all stems from there. And this has been decades in the making. And like, thing is, like, I begged people to pay attention to this stuff like 2 decades ago. It's like, you have to pay attention to this stuff. Like, you don't understand. If you don't do anything about this, they're going to make a generation of these idiots. And once you've got a full generation of them, you're not going to be able to do anything about it anymore. Not without getting your hands really dirty. But it's, as I feared, I mean, just like I talked about with what's going on with physical media now, like, people couldn't see it until it was basically, you know, a fist driven right into their fucking nose. It's one of my favorite memes on the internet, is the guy who just started noticing things. Or the guy who just started paying attention. Yeah, it's really interesting as I've gotten older. Like, a lot of the things like I would hear people say when I was younger that I didn't really think much about at the time, but like things that are in books, you know, like popular books that have been popular for, you know, centuries or things like that, or like the Bible or things like that. I didn't understand it when I was like, you know, in my teens and early 20s. I get it now why they're written the way they are. I get it. Like the phrase, bread and circuses exists for a reason. And like the thing that, you know, what was really cathartic about me with like Gamergate is that I knew this was the case back in the early 2000s when the same people conspired to basically try to kill Japanese gaming. That was when the whole big push was like, oh no, like Japanese gaming is dead. You know, like Western gaming is the future. All these Japanese game companies, they need to start hiring Western devs. They need to start putting offices in Western countries. Like, Japanese gaming's dead. I was like, no, it's not. What are you talking about? Exactly where it's always been. Just Western gaming has gotten popular. Because for the first time, like, people have like mass access to it, because like, and this is another people forget about back then too, like the early 2000s, like PC gaming used to be a pain in the ass. Like, a lot of the reason that like PC gaming never really got off the ground like back then was because of how much of the pain in the ass it was to be a PC gamer. Like, the whole idea of plug and play of a console, like not having to think about anything, just put in the disc, put in the cart, and it goes. Like, that was huge back then, because like trying to be a PC gamer, you're talking about driver issues, compatibility issues. Like, there was just no unified platform for anything back then. So a lot of times, like, something wouldn't work on your system, and like, you were just fucked. Well, the biggest thing that Gamergate did that was good for the industry, and quite frankly, global culture as a whole was it really put a spotlight on how just dirty media was. Like how much the media was just willing to just make shit up and collude with each other to try to push a story. Because a lot of people just couldn't see it up to them. And like, back then, probably the only people that you really had complaining about mass media were Fox News, which was kind of ironic because in a lot of ways Fox media wasn't mass media at the time. But I mean, the thing is, like, for all the criticisms that you can make about Fox News, and there's plenty of criticisms you can make about Fox News, and what it was then and what it is now, I mean, they were right about that. Like, the media machine was not some kind of benevolent force trying to inform the people. The media machine was nothing more than a narrative machine trying to coerce the people. These people weren't there to inform you, they were there to what's the word I'm looking for here? Influence you. They were there to coerce you. The only question was on whose behalf. Like with Fox's case, it was obvious whose behalf they were working on. Like Fox News was for the business class and, you know, what you can colloquially refer to as the Republican Party. Although that doesn't really apply anymore because I don't even know what the Republican Party is anymore. Like there's the old school Republican Party, there's the Trump wing of the Republican Party, and then there's people that get called Republicans that hate Republicans. It's the kind of the Democrat Party's not quite there yet, but they're headed in that direction too, where like calling some of the Democrats not going to really mean as much in the next few years because you're going to have all kinds of flavors of people that are colloquially referred to as Democrats just because that was a lot easier at the time, but like these people don't really share many beliefs and they hate each other. But I mean, just ever since Sony moved their offices to California for PlayStation, like they have done almost nothing that I've liked. I mean, at this point, like, if Sony is actually serious about saving PlayStation and having a future with it and actually making it to that PS9 that they put in that commercial all those many years ago, the office has got to leave California yesterday. The longer they keep them there, the more they cement that probably the PS6 is going to be the last PlayStation. I mean, Microsoft's going to release this Helix, but I don't know why. It's going to be a luxury product for a very, 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 very narrow audience that I don't even know if they're going to make money off in the long term. But I guess they're probably far enough along at this point that canceling it just doesn't offer any benefit other than not having to spend any more money on it in the immediate. They probably feel they're close enough to having something to release that it's better to release it and deal with the press of it and get some money back than to just cancel it. I mean, it just killed me seeing people listen to Asha Sharma talk and then getting hopeful about it. Seriously, like, how... Like, I see that, and then it... You ever seen, like, somebody in a bad relationship, and then it's like, why don't you just break up? Why don't you just get out? It's obviously not good for you. You know it, I know it. Just leave. And then they won't. That's how I feel about the people who still haven't given up on Xbox yet. I mean, I'll be honest with you, like, I was on the fence about getting a PS5 just because I looked at it and it was a PS4. And then, you know, you can talk about the haptic feedback and everything, but haptic feedback, it turned out exactly like I thought it would, which was exactly like the 6-axis and everything else. It was a gimmick that basically was forgotten within a year of the launch. There's some stuff that uses it. For the most part, though, it's... If it didn't exist, nobody would notice. Like, if no game ever had haptic feedback ever again, you might hear, like, a couple of people every now and then mention, hey, what happened to all the games with haptic feedback? And then that would be it. The PS5 was just like a PS4 Pro Plus. And there's no more proof of this than the fact that, like, they were basically releasing PS4 versions of all their games until, what? 3, 4, 5 years into the cycle? I mean, the only positive thing I can say about the PlayStation 5 is cheaper than a PC. That's about it. And I guess if you count in the cost of PS Plus, then that's debatable. And Sony just messed up so badly this generation with their first-party stuff that, you know, it used to be that if you were a third party, there were reasons to make your stuff PlayStation exclusive because PlayStation's exclusives were so good that they kind of created an environment that, you know, made having a PlayStation desirable. That doesn't exist anymore. And it's the reason why you're seeing basically all the companies that forever had kind of stuck along with Sony and were willing to make stuff for them exclusive, even if for only a year, basically said, hey, yeah, fuck that. And it probably also doesn't help that Sony has wasted so much money this generation, they probably don't have the money to make the payments that they were making in the past to get them to do that either. I mean, I don't know how Herman Hulst still has a job. I mean, it's clear Jim Ryan didn't know what he was doing either. Oh no, I'm kind of going to be interested to see what the Japanese reaction is to this today, actually. The thing is, like, I think it's going to be relatively muted just because Sony has killed the gaming market in Japan. Like, the decision the California office made at the launch with the PS5, like, they basically killed the PS5 in this country. Like, people don't get this, but, you know, Japan's not a rich country anymore. Japan used to be a rich country, and then a lot of bad economic decisions have basically changed that. There's still a lot of people that go around with the view that, you know, 100 yen equals the $1 US. Like, that hasn't been true now for a decade. It's 160 now. Like, I think probably the average salary over here in US dollars is less than $30,000 at this point. And at the launch, like, they did so little to deal with the piracy, or not the piracy problem, the scalper problem over here. They're like, you just couldn't get one over here for forever. To the point that by the time, like, Japanese people were actually able to get their hand on a PS5, like, most of them had just forgotten at that point. And then once you had the price at, like, what it was, like, a lot of Japanese people thought that was too expensive. Because, quite frankly, it was. Like, they had more money back then than they do now. Like, the yen wasn't in as bad a shape then as now. Like, it's probably closer to, like, 130 at the time. And just to put it in perspective, like, how much value the yen has lost since I came to Japan. When I first came to Japan, the yen was at one point, it was 78 yen to a dollar. But the government, in all its wisdom and glory, decided that, you know what, it's kind of hard for Toyota and our other big manufacturers to make a profit, even, you know, like, they make up, like, only a small percentage of the total Japanese economy. It's kind of hard to then make a profit at that yen value. Let's drive down the value of the yen. Not with, like, no concerns with the fact that, okay, Japan's a net energy importer, which got exacerbated by the earthquake. And that Japan's a food importer too. Yeah, those are two things that nobody cares about, energy and food. Oh, man. Cars, buddy. Phones. Yeah, I remember, like, during the Obama years when there were people trying to defend the Obama economy, and one of the things they brought up was how cheap an iPhone was, and the guy in the audience just immediately said, like, I can't eat an iPhone. I mean, because the thing at the time is like they were trying to talk about like inflation and prices going up at the time, and you know the counterclaim was like, well, it's so much cheaper to buy, you know, like an iPhone or like, you know, these kind of technological things. And you know, the point that people were trying to make was like, you're talking about how much cheaper luxury goods have gotten versus, you know, the things that people actually need to live every day. Oh yeah, and like don't try to tell people about how cheap phones are anymore. I mean, I guess unless they're Chinese, although the U.S. is probably going to try to do everything they can to ban Chinese phones in the U.S. Probably less to do with like security reasons, more to do to try to protect profit margins of places like Apple. I don't know, like they've got to sue these memory manufacturers at this point. Like normal competitive behavior would have them trying to ramp up production, and it's clear that they're not interested in doing that at all. They're just interested in doing what OPEC does. And if that's how they're going to act, well, I think that it's worth considering whether you know, memory and those kinds of things should be considered a utility at this point, because if you're going to make your society more or less a digital society, then obviously you can't get by without those things. So maybe those shouldn't be things that companies run anymore. Just like water. You know, like, I don't generally like the idea of having to use the government as a big stick to get these idiots to do what they're supposed to do. But if they're not going to leave you a choice, I guess you got to do what you got to do. I'm a pragmatist first, not ideological. I mean, you're talking to someone like in general, just, I don't like unions, like I don't like socialism, I don't like government services, but people agreed to have some form of government for a reason. Like, we didn't agree to just become an anarchy for a reason. Like, ANCAPs get called lawbritarians for a reason. Okay, thank God. Thought he'd screwed me. But either way, Sony's retarded. They're not going to come out of this unscathed. It's probably going to kill their business long term. I don't see a PS7 happening. I'm not buying a PS6 under current circumstances. Backwards compatibility is absolutely not going to happen. Like, this is... The gaming crash is coming, and it's going to be ugly. And the thing is, like, it didn't have to. I mean, there's still time for Sony to come to their senses on this, but I just don't think it's going to happen because I've seen how Sony's acted for the last 10 years. And I know how American business execs act, and I know how the kinds of people that they hire in California act as well. They will absolutely ride this thing into the ground. And never take responsibility for any of it. And here's the thing too, like, and it's another thing that like Steam fans and Valve fans and PC fans need to realize. You're going to be paying out the nose for this stuff when consoles go away. What am I doing? Why did I do that again? Actually, I know what I'm doing. Talking too much, but whatever. Oh, there it went. That's fine. Ugh. I'm well aware of this. I know this better than anyone, probably. You know, it's funny, like, coming to Japan... Like, Japan is a very responsibility-based culture. And because of that, a lot of Japanese customs and activities revolve specifically around avoiding taking responsibility for stuff just because of how painful it is when you have to. And what gets me about, like, the culture I'm talking about here is, like, it's not that. Like, this isn't people, like, being afraid of taking responsibility. This is people who've never taken responsibility for anything in their lives, thinking that they're never going to have to take responsibility for it. So they're shameless about it. Like, that's what really irks me about this. You know, like, in Japan, for the most part, now the thing is, like, and I talked about this a little bit, like, Japan has got a lot of the problems that the West has right now coming down the pipe, because it just took it longer to propagate in the university systems over here because of the language barrier. But it's starting. Like, I can see the same kinds of garbage that had me worried when I left the US starting to pop up here. The only thing Japan has going for it is they have the example of everything that's gone wrong with it in the West to maybe look at and say, hey, we better stop this now. Like, whether or not they're going to do that, I don't know. Like, that still remains to be seen. They're still in the early stages of it. But a lot of what is wrong with like Western culture right now is like there's just basically a failure to apply consequences to things that people need to take responsibility for. Like punishments have gotten lighter. Excuse making is basically as natural as breathing to people at this point. So what happens in an environment like that? When people make a mistake, what do? They double down. What's Sony doing right now? They're doubling down on all their stupid mistakes. A little bit. I mean, the thing is, like, I forget what we were talking about exactly last week, but it's the same core problems just keep causing different bad situations. And like this decision to get rid of like physical discs for the next PlayStation is just another example of that. This one just makes me angrier because, like, well, one, it hits home. And two, like, Sony's actually got the infrastructure in place to do something about this that should know better. And it's just been asleep at the wheel for I don't know how long because they offloaded everything to the California offices and those people are idiots. I mean, they finally kind of started paying attention to what's going on, which is why all the Western studios that have been basically doing nothing for the last 5 years are in trouble now. It's why the rumors about Druckmann being out at Naughty Dog are probably true. But it's like way too late. And I don't know who they let talk them into the idea that no physical games is a good idea, but that person lied to them. And it's most likely just somebody that's already made enough bad decisions to get them into this point, trying to come up with some way to save their own ass. It's like somebody's, you know, like trying to jump off bridges. Like, don't jump off that bridge. You're going to regret it. I would jump off that bridge. I would jump off that bridge. You don't know what you're talking about. I've got a degree and certifications. I'm smarter than you. I know what I'm doing. Don't jump off that bridge. You're going to regret it. Just watch me. Every day of my life for the last 20 years. False responsibility ads. Sorry, not. I'm kind of drawing a blank as to what you're talking about there. Like I might notice this. It's not coming. I mean, the thing is, like, with advertisements, like, I'm out of the loop on a lot of that, just because, like, I don't get like, Western ads or American ads like that anymore. Like, that's why when I was watching this World Cup, and, like, I watched one of the US games on, like, online streaming, I was just kind of taken aback by how just bad US advertising has got. Like, it's been so long since I've seen any, I didn't realize how bad it had gotten. That sucks. Didn't think I was going to get away with it. Like... Like, consequence culture is going to make a big comeback at some point in the near future. And how bad it's going to be is going to be determined by how willing people are to start taking responsibility for stuff on their own before it gets bad. I mean, that's generally the way it works. Like, it won't be the first time something like that has happened, and it won't be the last, but... Like, this is something I always had to explain to students after they got in trouble, which is generally that had they taken responsibility for what had happened sooner in the process, things wouldn't be as bad as they are. But in the process of trying to avoid responsibility for something that they had clearly messed up, they made things worse. This is pretty much always what happens. That's pretty much what's going on with Sony right now. It's like Sony has made a bunch of really, really, really stupid decisions for the last decade. And you got a bunch of people that are responsible for those decisions. Instead of taking responsibility for them and doing what they should do is just quit because they clearly don't know what they're doing. They're trying to paper over their mistakes with even more bad decisions. Like, when you get into the kind of hole like people like that are in right now, it's the same thing as like with gamblers. When you're a gambler and you're in the hole, anything that looks like it could offer the potential for getting out of that hole, regardless of how slim the odds may seem, like you'll grab onto that with dear life. And that's what you're starting to see now. Rather than admit that they fucked up and taking responsibility for it, they're going to grab onto any slim sliver of hope to save their ego or their job or whatever it is they're trying to save. And they're just going to make things worse. I don't know, the thing is, like, Sony in the past has shown a willingness to backtrack on stuff that they have screwed up and clearly people got angry at them for. I mean, the PS3 store is actually a good example of this. And they talk about it with some of the articles, you know, discussing the fact that they're going to close down the PS3 and PS Vita stores, but they tried to shut down the PS3 store back in 2021, and the backlash is so bad that they gave up on that. Like, the backlash isn't quite as bad now because, well, I mean, the PS3 is 20 years old at this point. So, like, and the people that are upset about it, like, every argument they're making is legitimate. It's just that there are so few people that deal with the PlayStation 3 at this point that it's kind of hard to make the argument anymore. Like, there's just not enough people that are affected by it. Regardless of whether the argument they're making is valid, true, correct. Like, the market that it affects is just too small at this point for anyone to care. When I say anyone, I mean like the average person. And, like, honestly, it may actually be costing them more money to keep that up than it's bringing in revenue. And it probably is and has been for years at this point. I don't know, like, there's got to be some kind of solution figured out for, like, digital ownership and things like that. Like, this current paradigm of we're just going to turn everyone into licensee holders or renters, like, that's not going to hold up. Like, it really does feel like you just got this kind of weird delusional class of people that are just trying to separate everything into, like, a rich upper elite and then, like, low-class people who just don't have anything and more or less cattle. Some might call them goy. And one of the things I want people to understand with that word and why it's kind of caught on, it's like words like that catch on because there's something about the word that speaks to a truth that people don't know how to express. And it's the same thing with, like, woke. So when you see words like that starting to catch on, like, that's the signal that you should probably start paying attention to what's going on. Ah. I've mentioned this before. People do what they're taught. It is actually disturbing how true this is. And it's why I am so insistent about people paying more attention to what goes on in their schools and universities. People do what they're taught. And the kinds of people that you're talking about, like these consultants and things like that, they're just doing what they were taught. And what they were taught in school is you treat business like a numbers game. You ignore all of the human aspects of it, and you treat it like a numbers game. And that's all they're doing. They're treating it like a numbers game. Like they've basically thrown out any kind of human connection to it, and they just look strictly at the numbers surrounding it, and then they act based off of that. It's why you see so many of these places do stuff that just seems so socially tone deaf. They have a reason for doing it. It's because the numbers told them that this is the best thing to do to get the line to go up. All the analysis that they've been taught to do, how to analyze things, you know, how to use statistics, stuff like that. Like, none of that plays into any kind of, like, human reaction without anything. This is going to go. All it is, okay, here's the numbers. Here's what the result is. Is that higher than... Is that the highest possible number? That's what we want to do. It's literally as simple as that. It's not that complicated with this. And they do that because that's what they were taught to do. And that's also what this system encourages. Like, this is what I talked about before with probably the single most important thing that Western countries can do right now to unfuck themselves is the laws around corporations having to basically chase profits at all costs need to change. The incentive structure is driving the behavior. Like, if you want to understand how things work, it's basically just understanding incentive structures and motivations. Like, you really don't need anything more complicated than that. If you can understand those two things, you will rarely be surprised by what people do. Like, a good example of this is the word racist. Oh. Second time it's done that to me today. Oh, the last one, it didn't block me like that. The people that use the word racist, especially, like, let's talk about, like, the guy that killed Austin Metcalf, or the guy that killed, I'm trying to remember the boy in the UK that got stabbed by that Sikh, Henry Novak. The two that killed them. Those people don't use the word racist because they care about racism. Okay, this is very important for people to understand. Like, that Sikh guy, or Carmelo Anthony, or the people that were outside the courthouse acting like retards. They don't use the word racist because they care about racism. These are some of the most racist people you ever meet. If you were to ask them their true views about stuff, and you heard what they said, you would hear some of the most racist shit that you could ever hear. These people don't care about racism. All they know is if they use the word racism, or say the word racist, they are more likely to get a good outcome. That's it. It's as simple as that. There's no thought in this. There's no ideology in this. It's the same reason, like, if you watch these videos where people are getting arrested and they're acting like idiots as they're getting arrested, you will see the same phrases come up over and over again. Namely, I can't breathe, because George Floyd taught them that that's the way to get out of it. And I have a kid. I have a baby. These people don't care about these things. They can breathe. They're yelling at you that they can breathe. They can clearly breathe. Okay? They say these things because they've seen it work before. Monkey see, monkey do. And when you're as stupid as some of these people, all you can think about is, if I can just get away with it, or I can get this guy to do something to do, maybe I can get out of here without getting arrested. If I say I have a kid, maybe they'll be like, oh, okay then. Because they've seen that work other places. They've seen people get sympathy for saying things like that. There's no deep thought in any of this. It's just idiots just seeing something work and repeating it. And when you're the kind of person that doesn't know how to take responsibility for your actions, and you don't understand consequences and things like that, when you feel like in trouble, you're just going to say anything that you think will help you get out of it. When you're a person whose thought process goes no deeper than what's in it for me, you'll call someone racist if you think there's something in it for you. It's no more complicated than that. Because that's how the incentive structures are set up, and that's how the motivations are. The end. Like, you can try to put all these kinds of university-educated PhD theses on top of it. At the end of the day, you're wasting your time. It's just post hoc justification. But I mean, just getting back to like the gaming thing with Sony and this, yeah, like, it's not inevitable that the PS6 is not going to have a disc drive. It's not inevitable that you're not going to have physical media anymore. If you want those things, you have to set up the incentive structure so that the motivation for doing that is lesser than the motivation for not doing it. And then people say, well, how can I do that as a consumer? Well, the answer's easy. Like, don't give them your money. Like, if you care about something, you need to care enough about it to not spend money on it. If you care about a kid, you have to care about a kid to not give them what they want. But, like, too many people have just been, like, brain broken into the idea in school that being mean is like the worst thing you can do. Like when I deal with high school students, that's one of the first things I try to disabuse them of. Kindness is not a virtue. Being nice is not a virtue. In and of itself. What makes them virtue is the motivations behind it. What makes them virtuous is the outcomes they produce. If your kindness is producing a bad outcome, your kindness is not a virtue. Toxic positivity, as some people have started to refer to it. You being positive about a thing to the point that it allows that thing to make a disastrous decision because you refuse to criticize it, that's not a virtue. You know, like, it's wild how it's wild to kind of oversimplify things in the way I'm about to, but like I still haven't really seen it disproven. Like the ability to delay gratification is one of the most important things for a person to have if they're going to be a high functioning person. The ability to make sacrifice, the ability to basically squash your own desires to make a decision that is the better decision for the long term. It's one of the most important things for people to have in a society to make that society function. And a lot of Western culture actively tries to destroy that at this point. Which is part of the reason Western culture is falling apart at the seams. Oh, Lord. I haven't had the wall of snakes in a while. And that inability to delay instant gratification is what has gotten us into this mess with Sony and physical discs. Both on the consumer and the manufacturer side. Like, make no mistake, a lot of people in the gaming industry think gamers are idiots. And sadly, gamers have not done much to disabuse them of this notion over the last decade. They think they're impulsive idiots who can't delay their gratification long enough so that you can basically just take advantage of them from a fiscal standpoint any way you want, and they'll just sit there and take it. Like there is a interview with EA executives or EA staff or something, like they were kind of talking about this in terms of, I think, like online games and other stuff like that. And the way they talk about their consumers, If you can hear that and still want to buy anything from them, I can't help you. I mean, it just kind of sucks, though. I mean, we were talking about yesterday, you know, about all the different systems we owned towards the end of the stream there. And I guess PlayStation ends with the PS5 for me. Unless Sony comes to their senses. Like, I'm not buying a PS6. Not under these circumstances. Costs too much money. No physical is a deal breaker for me. Like, the only reason, I'll be honest with you, like, the only reason I bought a PS5 is because it's still selling stuff on discs. Like, that was the driving force behind my decision to buy a PS5. Had it been digital only, I wouldn't have bought one. Because I don't care. Like, I'm not paying for the hard disk to expand storage so that I can, Oh my lord. I screwed this up. Whatever. Let's just keep going. I kind of want to see what happens when I make this mistake, how much time it costs me. Like, I'm somebody that spends a lot on games too, but I won't be spending any more on PlayStation if this is what they're going to do. Like, my PS Plus subscription actually is set to expire middle of next year. Maybe that's good timing, actually. Hey, man, it solves my trophy problem, too. Maybe they're doing me a favor. Oh, but what really kills me is, like, if you are a person who likes physical media, you better start loading up on it in the near future. Because once discs and stuff go out of production permanently, like, you're going to start seeing prices go places that you didn't think they would go on the used market. Because they're going to know they've got you by the balls. Not even an addiction, it's just like this. It's this personal problem I've got with where I have to, like, you know, 100% stuff if I start it, you know? Like, I feel like I have to finish something if I started it. Like, I need to go back and play Mina the Hollower. Like, that is in the back of my head every single day because I still haven't 100% that game. I mean, this is technically true about Night Rain as well. Like, I put Night Rain in the first day, and then I was kind of about it, and not really motivated to play it. I only got 1 trophy on it, so, like, I think the reason Night Rain hasn't kind of weighed on my head is just because I'm like, well, if I really don't want to play the game, I can just delete the trophies. Because it's only, like, 1 or 2. So what difference does it make? You know, I went all the way through Mina the Hollower, though. I kind of feel like I'm kind of, you know, committed at this point. And it's not like I don't like the game, but I also know the trophies are kind of a lot of pain in the ass stuff. So there's just something about my personality that's like, oh, you need to go back and finish that. Maybe Sony has, disabused me of that problem. Yeah, like, that's the one that's gonna really suck. But, I mean, the thing is, like, with a game like that, if you can figure out the enemy patterns, you can beat the enemies without getting hit, more or less. And it's not like that run has to be, like, a no-death run. It's gonna be kind of a grind. You just gonna have to put up with dying a lot, unless you get really good at the game. But, I don't know, like, at the end of the day, maybe gaming got too big for its own good. Like, it's funny, like, I don't really like much of anything that's came out in the last 10 years. I mean, there's some stuff I like here and there, but considering the volume of stuff that has come out in the last 10 years versus how much of it I like, I mean, there's a problem. Like, indies have kind of started pushing things in the right direction, but it's kind of just a shame to see the quality of stuff have to fall that low just to get something good. I don't know, it's like, you know, just imagine like the music industry went to garbage and then like somebody saying, oh, but think of all the street musicians. Okay, I mean, yeah. I mean, can't we do better than that, though? I don't know, maybe we don't deserve to. Like, I don't like having to say this, but like, it's just the evidence of everything I've seen over the last couple of decades has just made it seem true, though. But you know, I'm the kind of person that like to share my hobbies with other people. Now, like, after seeing what's happened to them, I kind of feel like, gatekeep your hobbies. When you let in too many people that don't really care about the hobby, they do stuff to it that's not in the hobby's interest. Which, when you just put it in blunt terms like that, it's obvious. If they don't really care about the hobby, why would they do something in the hobby's interest? Of course they're going to be personally motivated. What motivates people personally? Think about that and you'll understand why the game industry is why it is right now. Come on. Ah. Honestly, I just think older games were better because they were made with different motivations. Like, part of the reason people think that newer games are garbage is it's not like the graphics stuff and like that. It's because the mechanics behind the game are serving a different purpose than they used to serve in the past. Like, in the past, like, a game lived or died off of whether it was fun to play or not. Like, and now, like, games don't live off of that. The games lived off of how much money they can make. So the motivation behind how a game is made generally tends to be that. And, you know, it's... You know, you can condition people to act a certain way, and I think part of the reason that people don't get as excited about games anymore is because the games coming out aren't that exciting. They don't feel like anything new. A lot of them actually feel kind of the same because the game makers are all using the same psychological principles to design them. Because those psychological principles are not in the service of entertaining the player, they're in the service of figuring out how to get the player to spend more money on the game. And there's not really like a very, very suite of ways to do that. Like, fun and all that other stuff is just a secondary... It's a secondary concern. Because in most cases, making something fun actually is antithetical to making something easier to extract money with. Fun can't be fun for the sake of fun. Fun has to be fun for the sake of profit. The fun that you're having has to be motivated towards making you spend more money. look at a game like Mecha Chameleon or Power World. Like, these are two Japanese indie games that have come out in the last few years that have been ludicrously successful. The reason they were successful is nothing more than the people that made them thought, hey, you know what? This would be pretty fun. Like, the people that made Power World looked at Pokemon and all the complaints that people had about that, and then looked at what the kind of stuff that people liked, and then they just made that game. Mecha Chameleon, I think, was just like a couple of dudes. Oh, damn it. Fuck. Scrape the button. On the way to hit the start button there, I scraped the Y button. Damn it. That happens every now and then. Oh, oops. Messed up the clock. Like, I think Mecha Chameleon was made by like 2 dudes. Like, I saw there's like one of the Japanese YouTubers who kind of made a video about the game, talking about it. And I think he's like, yeah, like it's made like, I think it's like 2 dudes made it, and then once you kind of like take out all the cuts from like Steam and everything else, like they probably made like 50 million or so in profit off of that game so far. Probably gonna make a lot more than that over time, but that game succeeds because it didn't sit there and try to be a monetization machine. It just thought of a stupid idea that's a lot of fun, and then they just made the game. It's hide and seek. Everybody knows that game. Imagine hide and seek being a multi-million-dollar game. But it is because they took a basic concept that everybody knows is fun, and they added some new twists to it. And quite frankly, other games are so abysmal at this point of just allowing a player to have fun that, well, that wins out. I do believe that is the case. That's why it's Mecha. Like, I thought it was Mecha Chameleon at start, because it was, like, I saw people just writing it M-E-C-H-A. I was like, Mecha Chameleon? Like Mecha Godzilla? Or, you know, something like that. No, it's because the Japanese... It's the Japanese developers, and, like, Mecha is kind of like a... It's like an amplifier of a word, like, you know, like, along the lines of, you know, like super or epic or something like that. It's Mecha Chameleon. It's like, and I'm going to draw a parallel to baseball here. That mean, unless you pay a lot of attention to baseball, you're not going to be able to get. But like, I think it's just another example of how like what people learned in business school and analytics and things like that, what they learned in school is getting in the way of common sense. And like you see this problem in baseball with like how pitchers are developed now. And that guys in the past that were some of the best pitchers that have ever existed probably wouldn't even be an afterthought for a lot of developmental schools these days, just because they don't fit the mold. Like now it's about being like tall and hard throwers. So like if you're a short guy that relies on changing speeds, I mean, like there's some of the best pitchers that ever existed were like that prototype. They wouldn't even look at you now. And the game industry's gotten the same way in that like something simple like Mecha Chameleon, which any one of these studios could have made a better version of. Like they don't know how to make that because it doesn't fit the mold of the way that they're taught the games are supposed to be made. Because none of the way that they're taught the games are supposed to be made involves like making the game actually fun anymore. You only make it enjoyable in so much as to make it a hook. Like if they thought they could get away with a game that was nothing more than the player pressed a button and gave the company money, they would absolutely release that because they don't give a shit whether you enjoy it or not. I don't know, like, the more I think about it, the more I think that just like the way that the stock market works, the way that publicly traded companies works, like something needs to change, just because at this point, I barely see it as any more than like some kind of thinly veiled form of gambling or Ponzi scheme, just because the prices that these companies demand on the stock market, like their market cap versus how much money the companies actually make, like the numbers just don't make any sense anymore. The game is specifically designed for the last person holding the bag to be the big loser. It's like this high stakes game of financial hot potato. Whereas the whole idea of something like a stock market was that you split ownership up, but those owners are supposed to be getting something directly out of the company they own. You know, not the idea that the only point of owning a stock is to sell it. But that's what the stock market has become at this point. Like, kudos to like the Japanese stock market, though. At least like over here, like there are people that live off the dividends from their stocks over here, and like the rewards they get. Like, so it's not always financial. Like sometimes it's like, you know, like coupons to eat for free, or you know, like stuff like that. Or, like there's a guy that comes on TV every now and then over here, and like he's that kind of guy. Like he basically he owns like all this stock, and like his day is structured around taking advantage of all of the benefits he gets from owning those stocks. He doesn't work, he just does that. And like, you know, he used to work, but you know, he just kind of invested all his money in stocks, and like it got to the point to where like the dividends and then like the, you know, the rewards for owning those stocks that the companies were giving, like he could just live off of that. But now, like most companies, like Dividends? What's that? All stock is something to make like a ton of money off the IPO off of for investment purposes, and then it's the equivalent of baseball cards after that. Not even Pokemon cards. You can play a game with Pokemon cards. Some baseball cards. You look at it and you look at the stats on it and it's like, man, I hope I can sell this to someone else for more money someday. You know, like, honestly, it's over referenced at this point. It really is over referenced at this point, but, like, I love Idiocracy. I love that movie. Like, it's so spot on so many things, like Mike Judge was just really good at, like, that kind of, you know, satirical comedy stuff. Like, in a much more, you know, I guess, sophisticated way than South Park ever was. You know, the King of the Hill, Beavis and Butthead, Idiocracy. Office Space, like, people forget, like, he's the one that made that movie, too. But it's just, like, almost everything being mocked in that movie is just coming to pass, and I mean, right down to, like, Camacho. I mean, like, we're seriously getting to a point where I could see somebody like a Camacho figure being elected president of the United States in the U.S. because for a lot of reasons, honestly. And not all of them are necessarily in line with each other. Like, I don't know, like, when Mike Judge gave him the name that he gave him and made him, like, a black guy, like, I don't know how much thought process was into that, but I mean, it's kind of like Kojima with Metal Gear Solid 2, is you look at, like, how correct some of the stuff in that is just creepy. So I heard the noise and I forgot to mention it, but thanks for the follow, Aurelian. I appreciate it. I don't usually spend my whole stream just yelling about things. Only occasionally. I'm not really yelling either, but I guess rant is a more appropriate word. Like, it's just really disappointing that Sony did this, and it's like all the motivations behind it are just the wrong motivations too. It's just frustrating because they're just gonna. It's the Pokemon. It hurt itself in it hurt itself in confusion. Like, it's just clear that whoever's running them doesn't know what they're doing anymore. And let's be clear, like, a lot of these people that are in charge of these companies, especially the ones that came in afterwards and had nothing to do with the founding and the building of them, they're just business people, they don't know what they're doing in terms of actually making the company something that produces something that people want. They know how to monetize things. Now, make no mistake, they are very good at that. They understand how to monetize things. They understand how to take things and make them profitable. And that does have its place, but doesn't always have its place. And one of those places is right now. Like, somebody like that could be really helpful right now in the idea of how do I make a product that people can afford. That's still going to be profitable. Like, that's where somebody like that could be useful right now, but that's not where the motivation is. The motivation is, how do I take what I have right now and monetize it until it's bled fucking dry? And that's all these people know how to do anymore. They don't hire engineers and other things because they respect them or anything like that. They stick their noses up at those kinds of people. They just keep them around because they know at some point they're going to need a new product. Because God knows they don't know how to make one. That's why they've got such a hard-on for AI, too, because the idea of AI is like, oh, I can finally get rid of all these other people, and then just my wonderful ideas will allow me to make all the money in the world. And they don't realize that a lot of their ideas are shit. That's why their companies are failing. Because none of their ideas have the proper motivations behind them. Now, greed's considered a deadly sin for a reason. You know, that's one of those things that, regardless of whether you're religious or not, is a good thing to ponder on. Is, you know, why are the 7 deadly sins considered deadly sins? What about it in the past made people decide that that's why those people should, that those things should be labeled in such a way? Again, regardless of whether you believe in God or not, like, that's something you should probably think about. Why has the idea persisted? You know, kind of getting back to the more immediate thing at hand, me doing RTAs here. I do apologize. I haven't been able to actually get anything to the Dark World today. Like, I've actually kind of been playing okay today. It's just that probably me kind of talking about this stuff with Sony and everything else has got me distracted enough where I keep making mistakes that kill runs. Actually kind of playing okay today. Oh, what did I doing there? I do apologize for that, though. You know, I like gaming. I'm laughing because I was just thinking of the Idiocracy thing. You know, I like money. You like money too? Oh man, I can't believe you like money. I love that movie. But, you know, I like gaming. I care about gaming because... like, there's a lot of reasons I like gaming, but one of the reasons I really like gaming is one of the most economical forms of entertainment that has ever existed for people. Like, the entertainment per hour of economics versus, like, say, for like a movie versus a video game, just like the benefits are off the charts. And, you know, in that way, I've always kind of viewed gaming as like a sign of progress of humanity because, you know, we've gotten better at finding ways for people to entertain themselves. Now, there's an argument to be made that maybe people shouldn't be spending so much time entertaining themselves, and okay, that's fine. I can agree with that, but regardless, the idea that we had made a form of entertainment that was relatively cheap, long-lasting, mass-producible, and basically able to be enjoyed by pretty much anyone was a good thing. And bad motivations have taken that good thing and driven it into the ground over the last 10 to 15 years. Maybe this 20 years is more accurate, honestly. Like, I just really hate everything Microsoft did to the console industry. Like, I don't think any of it was overall positive for it. Like, if what they wanted to do, they should have just stuck with PC stuff. It fit there, the market was already there. Instead, they drug the console ecosystem into a place where it didn't belong, confused the market, and now consoles have turned into PCs, which... that was never why consoles succeeded in the first place. The more you make a console, the less, like a PC, the less you give the reason a console to exist. The less reason a console has to exist. Because at that point, there's already an existing device that does everything a console does, but more and better, and in a lot of cases cheaper. Nintendo at least still understood this, and they've tried to keep their consoles extremely distinct from a PC. People complain about this because it means that Nintendo's stuff is walled off, but Nintendo's stuff is good specifically because it is walled off. Because it is unique. That song, I forget how old the song is, but it's like when everybody looks the same, we get tired of looking at each other. When you make everything the fucking same, it all gets boring. Now, it's already 8 o'clock, and I don't have enough time to finish a run or even make it to the Dark World before I'm technically supposed to start my next stream, so I'm going to go ahead and let it go here. But yeah, it sucks. Like, don't let anybody convince you otherwise. Like, this is not good news for anyone that likes gaming at all, that Sony is deciding to kill physical media. You can make all the excuses for it that you want. It doesn't change the fact that this is, at the end of the day, this is going to hurt PC gamers, this is going to hurt console gamers, this is going to hurt gamers in general. Like, there is not an upside to this that isn't anything else other than corpo speak to convince you to allow them to screw you in the ass. Because any of the excuses that they make to you that might seem good on the surface, they're not going to do that for you. If you haven't learned that from the way that digital distribution has gone for the first 20 years of it, where you were promised that it was going to drive costs down and digital still costs more than physical in most cases. If that hasn't taught you everything you need to know, I don't know what to tell you anymore. I guess you're just unable to learn. That may seem rude, but remember when I said before, kindness is not a virtue? Like, if you care about something, you gotta care about it enough to walk away from it. You gotta care enough about to not spend money. I gotta care enough about it to not give it what it wants. Like, I care about gaming. Like, I've had a PlayStation stuff since the first PlayStation. I didn't buy it on launch because I was too young to pay for it myself at the time. But, you know, as soon as I could buy one, like when Final Fantasy came out, like I bought one then, and I have owned pretty much every single PlayStation thing outside of the VR stuff since then. Like the Move stuff I didn't really get either, just because like VR and Move, like it was the Virtual Boy. Like I could see that. Everybody kind of knew that. It just really wasn't worth it. It's not that I didn't think that some of the stuff on it wasn't fun. It's just like long-term investment wise, it just didn't make any sense. There's stuff on there that people enjoy. Like the Vita had a small market, but like the people that bought the Vita and liked the Vita, like those were some of the most loyal spenders that Sony has ever had, which is why the Vita lasted as long as it did, even with the sales it had. But yeah, I'm not going to put up with that. Like, if Sony wants to try to drive everything to digital and basically turn themselves into another Valve, then I guess Sony can do without me. Good luck. Like, I don't have to buy a PS6. Like, look at this generation, the exclusives that came out. I don't own a single Sony exclusive that was made by Sony. I own Stellar Blade. That's it. And Stellar Blade is probably not going to be exclusive for much longer. Like, they will do the same thing that every other game company has done, is they'll find a way to release it on other systems through some kind of... Generally what you do is you change the game a little bit so it's not the original game, and that basically gets you out of the licensing agreement in most cases. And quite frankly, Sony will probably let them do it anyway, just because Sony at this point can't afford to piss off any more third-party developers, because their first parties aren't enough to carry the ship anymore. If their third-party developers abandon them, then they're in Microsoft's position, which is, why do you exist? So I was already kind of on the fence about the PS6, because what was going to be the upgrade versus the PS5, and how much was it going to cost? But physical, like, they could make the thing $500. I'm not going to buy it. Fuck that. It's not going to have backwards compatibility. You know, ironically, it's going to be a lot like a PS3, where the PS3, you know, it came out with hardware backwards compatibility, and then they got rid of that after about a year because the thing was too expensive. Like this time, they're just not even putting up with the pretense of it. They're just getting rid of it ahead of time. Even though it's really not going to save them anymore, it's probably going to cost them money in the long run because it's going to hurt their business. Like even like Xbox One is a perfect example of this. Like what they did with the launch of the Xbox One permanently crippled the business. Like Sony has basically done the same thing. And people will say, no. Well, you'll see. Just wait. It's going to be like Last of Us 2, where like they'll talk about how good the numbers are at launch, but then they won't talk about the numbers very long after that. Same thing with Ghost of Yotei. They talk about those numbers at launch because there's a lot of people that don't pay attention to this stuff and they don't realize what they're getting into until it's too late. It'll be the same thing. Same thing with PS3. Launched really well. Sold out at launch. But then those numbers really dwindled off because, why should you own a PS3? There weren't really many games for it. It was really expensive. Exclusives were more on the 360 at the time. I mean, that's the environment Sony's going to be walking into with this is, why should I get a PS3 versus a cheap PC? And they're not going to have many answers to that question. Like up until now, they had, like, physical was a trump card. And that is like, you're going to have a physical copy of this game that no one will ever be able to take away from you. You can put it in your machine, and as long as that machine works, it will work. Now, admittedly, there are some games that don't work without connecting to the internet. Like, there's some guy on YouTube that actually checks this. Like, there's probably multiple people on YouTube that check this. But, like, you know, they will unhook the machine, put the day one disc in, and see whether the game works or not. And there are some that don't. Yeah, I'm aware of that. I would never buy such a game. Nor should you. But, like, that was a big trump card. Like, the psychological safety of knowing that that was always there for you, like, that's something that I think that they and a lot of people have severely underestimated. And I'll say it again. Odds are the people that buy physical discs, the heavy buyers of physical discs, are also probably some of Sony's biggest customers. They're whales, so to speak. And I think they're going to lose a lot of them over this. And, like, you don't want to lose your whales in the gaming industry. Because, again, they spend a lot of money compared to the average consumer. And on top of that, when you piss them off, they're probably also going to be your most vocal and vicious detractors. Like, I'm not quite a whale. I spend a lot, but, like, there's people that spend ludicrous amounts of money on games. Now, like, collector's editions, too. Like, game companies are pissed about this, too, because I will not buy a collector's edition with a fucking download code in it. Who are you kidding? Who do they think they're kidding? And if you're a game company that, like, they make a pretty good money off these collector's editions, those collector's editions just got to be a lot harder sell now. They understand who that market is. The thing is, I think Sony also kind of understands it too. It's just that their motivations are so driven by bad decision making up to this point that they're basically forced to ignore that. It's just willful or ignorance in the service of trying to paper over a mountain of mistakes over the last 10 years. But sometimes you got to pay for the mistakes you've made, and I think maybe it's time for Sony. Yeah, I mean, like, people, they still do that now. Like, you can buy, like, the Square Enix store in Japan, like, you can buy collector's editions with a download code for some of this stuff. Like, I'd be damned if I'm going to do that, but, I mean, because the whole idea of a collector's edition is the idea that you have something physical, you know? A physical thing. So the idea that you're selling a download code with that is just antithetical to the whole idea of a collector's edition in the first place. There are some, let's just call them silly people who may still do that, but I'm not one of them. Thing is, like, I'll buy collector's editions if I can afford them, or if I want them bad enough, but I will not buy a collector's edition for a game that's a digital download. Screw that. That doesn't mean, like, I won't buy, like, merch for it. Like, if there's, like, a cool, like, figure or something that I like or something like that, yeah, I might buy there. For, like, if I think the art in the game is really good, like, I might buy, like, a separate, you know, art book or something like that, but a collector's edition? Hell no. And, you know, some people are also going to point out the stuff about, you know, like digital, you know, like, the people that buy physical games buy digital games too. Aren't you a hypocrite? For some games, not having a physical edition actually makes sense. Like for smaller games where you don't know how many copies you're going to sell, and making the physical editions is a financial commitment that you can't guarantee in any way, shape, or form, yeah, like you probably shouldn't be releasing a physical game. You can release one later, and that's what, I forget what the name of that company is. The whatever company is that, like, releases physical versions of digital games afterwards. Like, I can't remember the name right now. Like, there's a Japanese one that does it as well. It's Super Deluxe Games, I think. Like they released Cuphead on disc over here. They released a few other games that were Stray. Like Stray got released on disc over here. Like I bought those. Wouldn't have bought them otherwise because they were digital games, but I bought those. Like Mina the Hollower, I paid for the digital version of that because, like, that company, when a company is telling you, like, selling 200,000 copies or not is going to make or break them, yeah, like, they probably don't need to be making discs. Yeah, I mean, like, I feel bad for people that happens to them because, like, a lot of people just don't even realize that. And the thing is, like, most of the time when they're doing that, they intentionally kind of obfuscate that fact. Like, I mean, they have to say it, but they don't make a big deal about it because they realize that those editions don't sell as well as the ones that come with the disc. I mean, just look at what's happened with GameStop with Grand Theft Auto 6. Like, there's people going in there finding out that it's just a code, it's just a code in a box, and they're like, why the fuck would I even bother? Oh no, just wild month of gaming news, honestly. And like so I forget who it was that brought it up, but they're probably right about this too. Like, part of the reason I think Sony announced this right now is like so many other places, like Microsoft has just been on a generational streak of bad news last week or so. And this is probably as good a time as any for Sony to announce it, because there's so much attention split up on like so much other bad gaming news that they're hoping that people won't notice. But I think that they were grossly mistaken about how much of this actually affects people that pay for gaming, like the heavy core gamers that they rely on to keep their platform afloat. Like, I'm not going to quit gaming. I'm just not going to do it with Sony. You know, I loved Nintendo stuff right up until PlayStation was just a better deal across the board because Nintendo made some bad decisions with N64. And I've stuck with PlayStation stuff because for the most part, PlayStation's made all the right decisions. Mostly. Like the last couple of generations have been kind of questionable, but at the end of the day, the motivation was keeping the system affordable for users. And like for me, that was important because something that I think Sony kind of lost track of and Microsoft never understood, but Nintendo does understand, is you have to keep young people jumping into the ecosystem. I mean, you can't do that if you're pricing your system for people in their 20s and 30s. Like, if you look at the average age of gamers and the average age of like Square Enix fans and things like that, like if you're in the industry, you should be extremely disturbed and worried. Because if gaming is a young person's hobby, why is the average age in the 30s and 40s? And it's because they've priced these things outside of the realm where young people can get them as a birthday present. Or like a little kid could save up and buy it himself. So the idea that a PlayStation now, brand new, costs $600, $700, $1,000, like, are they clearly not making these for children? And let's be blunt here, like, I don't think a lot of people get into gaming in their 20s and 30s. If you're a gamer in your 20s and 30s, it's probably because you were a gamer in your teens. And if you were a gamer in your teens, there's a good chance it's because you were a gamer when you were in elementary school. But all they're going to do with these idiotic decisions is they're basically going to kneecap themselves with the market they already have, make it impossible for them to gain a younger generation, and just the thing's going to wither on the vine and die because they aged out. That's kind of what happened with Star Wars. Star Wars was able to carry on generationally because of the prequels. Like, yeah, like the traditional Star Wars fans didn't make them, but the prequels, while they have their problems, like they were still made so that children could enjoy them. They weren't made for adults. They were made in a way that adults could enjoy them. Like, I like the prequels, okay? They're not, the best movies ever made, but they're okay. And the thing is, like, as much as people like Star Wars, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, the original movies, they're good, but I mean, okay, let's not get overly excited here. This isn't the best shit ever made. And so, you know, it did make sense for them to try to make a new generation of Star Wars movies because you have to keep bringing people into the ecosystem. The only thing is, like, they didn't understand the ecosystem. Like, Disney's a girls brand that was trying to make a movie that was not for girls. And they failed accordingly. Same thing with Marvel. Like, they had a brand that they kind of kept their hands off it, and that's why Marvel was initially successful. But then once they started seeing how much money it could make, and then they tried to make it a Disney thing, well, they killed it because Disney is a girls brand and Marvel is not a girls brand. Anywho, all right, it's 8:30. I was supposed to start. It's 8:26. I'm supposed to start next stream 4 minutes from now, so I'll just have to leave the rant there. I mean, the thing is, like, I'm not the only one talking about this. I mean, there's honestly way more people than I was expecting talking about this. It was just a little bit encouraging, but I also know that if it just ends with people complaining about it right now, like, it's going to happen. Like, if people actually care about not having this happen, then you've got got the, I hate using the word harass, but you're just going to have to harass Sony over this, like, relentlessly for as long as it takes. Because if nothing else has been proven in the last few years, I think it's that once the financial motivation becomes clear and they realize that the decision they're making is going to hurt them long term and short term, then you can kind of get them to do what you want. But if you're not willing to make that sacrifice to put them in a position where they're hurt, then you just have to deal with it or leave it behind. And while I intend to make my feelings known about the matter and be as vocal about it as I can be, if it comes to it, yeah, I'm just going to leave it behind. There's plenty of games to play that aren't on a Sony system with better conditions than their digital system allows. I mean, if digital is the only way that I can game, then Sony is not the place to do it. Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence about, like, Gabe Newell said something about piracy that I don't, like, maybe 100% agree with, but I do generally agree with. And he said piracy is a service problem. In that piracy happens because the service provided is not doing a good job of providing that, or the service provider is not doing a good job of providing that service. And I think the music industry in a lot of ways has proven him correct. In that, well, I'm not going to say music piracy isn't a thing anymore. Once they figured out the service problem, the service is more convenient than piracy. So people really don't pirate music as much anymore. Even though it would be cheaper. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Grand Blue Fantasy and try to enjoy that game because I actually liked that game yesterday. But that's what I'm going to be doing next. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. New expansion's coming out next week, I believe. And I figured I would at least, since I bought the game, I would at least try to see if the game was worth it. So going to try to finish that up before the expansion comes out. Started it yesterday. It's pretty fun. It's a little bit like Monster Hunter-ish, a little bit hack and slashy. Like the combat feels a little bit loose, and the thing is, like, side games never really made a game like this before, so there's a little bit of rough spots with it. But the little bit I played of it yesterday, I enjoyed, so I'm going to keep playing it today. See how it goes. Now the story's kind of hit or miss, and the other thing too is like Grand Blue Fantasy. Like, if everyone doesn't know, it's a big online mobile game that's been going on for years at this point, and like they just kind of decided to make this game and see how it did, and it did a lot better than they expected it to. But like because of that, it kind of jumps into the middle of the story with what's going on in like the online game. So like if you're familiar with the game, it's kind of a little bit easier to play this, but if you're not, like it does kind of feel like you're jumping in the middle of something to a little bit of an extent. But there's enough explanation, you know, dictionaries and stuff in there to go, or encyclopedias to go through there if you want to catch yourself up with it. So I don't really consider it an issue. Like, I don't think the story is the main idea of this game anyway. It's more the gameplay, which is a good thing. All right. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get set up for that. It's probably going to take about 15 minutes or so, and then I'll be playing that today for a little while. Longer than yesterday anyway. But if you're interested, by all means, hope to see you there. Otherwise, I'll be doing another RTA tomorrow. Hopefully, actually get somewhere with it. Like, I didn't play badly today. That's the biggest thing. Even with all that talking, the play was more or less okay. It's just like, well, I was distracted. I kind of made stupid mistakes. So, like, if I'm concentrating, I'll be fine. So, anywho, hopefully it'll go a little bit better tomorrow. So I couldn't get a good run going today. Maybe next time. But, yeah. If you care about physical games, don't let Sony get away with what they're trying to do here. And the thing is, it's not just on Sony, like Nintendo as well. Microsoft, you can just throw them out, like they're done. Like they're irrelevant to the gaming market at this point. Like they've given up. They're clearly on the way out. It's more or less Nintendo and Sony. Like if you care about physical games, like Valve, that's a completely different discussion. Like PC is what it is. Like they gave up on the physical market years ago. Like, quite frankly, the people that don't care about physical, that's where they should be. But if you care about physical media, like consoles is where it is, and if you let this go, you're never getting it back. So, that's where it is. Do what you think is the right thing to do. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good day or evening. Hope to see you in a little bit. If not, hope to see you tomorrow.